Hey everyone, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Shailaja Menon and I have been a yoga practitioner and teacher for over 20 years now. So thank you all for coming here this evening and being part of this conversation, this very important conversation with Padma Shri P.R. Krishnakumarji. I began my journey in Coimbatore, India with integral yoga and continued in Malaysia with my teacher Manoj Kaimal. Along the way, I set up my yoga studio, Mat and Beyond Yoga Studio, where I teach classes, and I also became an author with my book Yoga Shakti. So, as you can see, the yoga practice has shaped much of my life. I began these conversations at the beginning of the lockdown as a platform to share the authentic teachings of yoga and on subjects related that uplift our lives. Our lives are the result of the choices that we consciously or unconsciously make. And in order to make the right choices, it needs to be backed by authentic knowledge. And this is my humble effort to reach that knowledge from all the great teachers that are around us. So, Padma Shri P.R. Krishnakumarji is the Managing Director of Ayurveda Pharmacy Limited, Coimbatore, one of the pioneer institutions in India in the field of Ayurveda. He was instrumental in bringing Ayurveda to the attention of the World Health Organization for research in the efficacy of Ayurveda in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis, thereby creating a great breakthrough for the science to gain acceptance the world over. He's also the founder of the AVP Research Foundation, a non-profit research organization promoting research in Ayurveda. For his tireless efforts towards promotion of Ayurveda and service to society, Sri Krishnaji was conferred the prestigious Padma Shri Award in 2009 by the Government of India and more recently with the National Dhanvantri Award in 2016 by the Ayush Ministry, Government of India, amongst several other awards. He is also on the advisory board of several government and non-governmental organizations involved in the propagation of Ayurveda. In 2015, he was also appointed as Chancellor of Nashlingam Institute for Home Sciences and Higher Education for Women. His daily life thus adorns the role of an Ayurvedic physician, teacher, visionary, philosopher, counselor, administrator, and entrepreneur. On a personal note, having grown up in Coimbatore, I have known of him much of my life as our families knew each other well. So when I wanted to release my book Yoga Shakti, his was naturally the first name that came to my mind. And he not just released the book so graciously for me, but believed in it strongly and continues to support it till today. And for this, I am deeply indebted to him. His life is also a great inspiration to many on this path, as he keeps a demanding schedule of working 18 to 20 hours a day with only 4 hours of sleep on most nights, which according to him is more than enough. His whole life is an inspiration, whether it is his complete dedication to the cause of Ayurveda, to living his life with a larger vision and a purpose that is reflected in his everyday lifestyle, from waking up at 2:30 or 3 a.m., immersed in mantras and pujas, leading a satsang 5 a.m. every morning, and then the rest of the day with the students, well wishers, and public who are always seeking his advice and his time. So it is a great honor that we have Krishnaji in our midst today. And before we get started with everybody's questions, I have a question myself. I think it's just a universal divine timing that today actually happens to be the second day of the Karkida Masam, which is the last month of the Malayalam calendar year. And this lasts from the 16th of July to the 16th of August this year. So, could you please explain the significance of the rituals that go with it, including especially with focus on the Ayurvedic rituals, which include, special kinds of diet and the Ayurvedic chikitsa, and also why reading the Ramayana. In fact, the Ramayana reading is so important that it's actually called the Ramayana Masam as well. So just talking a little bit about this and explaining the significance of this to us. And before that, those of you who are here, it would be really nice if you could post some comments, let us know that you are here, and keep the questions and the comments coming. So you can just get started, Krishna.
Good evening, Mrs. Shailaja Menon, and good evening to all the participants, thanks to all of you for being here this evening. And it's nice having a chat with Shalja Menon, who always have wonderful questions for the benefit of the public. People have a lot of doubts and confusion in their mind, but they don't know how to put across a question, whom to put it across. So she has a knack of finding the right people. For the last few weeks, I've been noticing wonderful people come, so much of clarification, so much of thoughts of theirs. I only wish all of you participants take the message seriously. Life has become so casual, and the cheapest thing on earth today is life. Everybody kills everybody. The mother kills the husband kills the son, and only valueless and the most valuable things are laptops and cell phones and robbery, theft. All the wrong things on earth is what we are given importance to. And thanks to all such activities world over, it's not only to one particular place, the Lord decided. I keep saying Karuna is Karunya, compassion. He said, unless I step in, you guys are not going to set right your lives. Now, coming to the question which Shailaja Menon asked about this great month. This is the month Ashada Masam, we call it, or Karkadaga Masam, we call in Malayalam. This is the month when you have the maximum rains, turmoil, winds, and you can see Assam, how many are dying every day. In Kerala, there's a lot of floods and havoc going on. And there's all the, living organism from under the earth comes out and starts creeping in because the rain, the mud is all slushy. And this is the time when they say one has to observe a life to make sure that you preserve your health, you promote your health. Today, almost there's no question of preserving because everybody is in bad health. Morning to evening, jobs are only to go and sit in the outpatient ward for a coupon, get consulted, and get a long list of drugs which create more havoc called hypergenic diseases. Every drug creates another new problem, and therefore the purpose of life is all lost. Therefore, olden days, when farming could not be done for the rains, almost every aristocratic home had people who worked for them in the farm. They are all, and every home had a nice plank. And in Ayurveda, there are two planks, two types of woods which are used. Neem wood, we have a single plank. It has a medicinal value. Lie down on that, get special oils made based on your body. Prakriti, we call constitution of your body. Are you tall? Are you short? Are you fat? Are you lean? Based on that, oils are applied, and that 1 month of treatment is an investment for the next 11 months to be dynamic, to be full of hyper activities, which is what man has made his life miserable by doing so. But his contribution, and in health, in Ayurveda, it is a harmonious living between the body, mind, and the soul. It's just not keeping the body okay unless you have a balanced mind. So there are normal foods we call Karkadaga Kanyi. It's a combination of 24 herbs with a special variety of rice, each herb having wonderful qualities. And this is the time when all the pores in your skin is open because after the dry season, the body becomes dry. You need to lubricate it, keep it in good state, and this goes to every cell. 1.7 trillion cells are there in your body. And every day, what we call dancing Nararaja. There are great books written by great sannyasis called Our Body is a Dancing Nararaja. What does it mean? Not that you dance, but the cells in your body keeps on dying and living, coming back to life. But the number of deaths happening is far more than you bring back the cells back into life. But if you can live a life of discipline like this, these oils, these medications bring back those. And that's why you say, oh my God, 10 years ago I saw you and you still look young. This is how we can preserve it. But today we go for artificial decorations. That's because Everyday wrinkles are coming on your face. Your body is becoming old. Your health is shrinking, and your capacity to sustain your immunity is lost. Now, everybody from world over, thanks to Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, who keeps talking about Ayurveda and the immunity problem, and he has given a prescription. What are the do's and don'ts, etc. This is because you never cared to maintain this most miraculous creation of the Lord. Live it. And then, not only for the body, the oil massage and the treatments, there is something called Adhyatmika Chikitsa, philosophical treatment. And why Ramayana? That is the book where you find the maximum turmoil, Rama going to the forest and going through hardships. Read it. In olden days, in Kerala, every home, at least the eldest grandmother sat and read it in the morning and the evening, and everybody sat around and listened to it, and that gives them a lot of solace to the thing. And for the soul, of course, this is the month that you do what we call Trikala Sandhya, Trikala Puja. Morning Ganesh Havan, afternoon you do the Bhagavati Seva, in the evening again you invoke the gods and make sure that the home and the atmosphere around the home and the people within the homes are kept hale and healthy. And today we have lost the harmony because your mind says something, your soul demands something, and your body behaves some other way, and all of us are stressed. And you look so haggard by evening that they say, "Oh my God, I'm so tired." And Shailaja was like, mentioning about 20 hours of work of mine. I feel, frankly speaking, even that 4 hours of sleep is a waste. You don't need to sleep that much. Because if you have a goal in life, there's a British journal who asked me to write an article, what is the meaning of life? I said, life has no meaning unless you give a meaning to it. And if you give a meaning to it, you get so inspired. And that health aspect has to come from outside also, not only through oils, etc., but from within also the same inspiration. I hope and pray all of you could live a life like this. And today in Ramayana, you have all the language great masters, spiritual masters who have chanted it beautifully. Every day there is a dose to be listened to, read it. In the 30 days you complete it, please listen for 10 minutes. Yesterday, somebody had told me, why should I listen to it? How does it help you? And this morning gets back and says, oh my God, yesterday was such a peaceful day. No message of death. These are days when every hour you get somebody sick and somebody is critically in hospital. And yesterday she didn't hear any such message. Had some wonderful things happening. And all that is your own mind. And the day starts with that mind. Whatever happens outside your body is only a reflection of your own mind. So start the day with that. Take a little oil, doesn't matter which oil, of course, not linseed oil or such oil which are used for washing the cricket bats, etc., but some gingerly oil or coconut oil. Apply it, have a nice bath, keep yourself fresh, and you'll see how next 11 months are going to be healthy living without any illness taking over. I think I've given a long explanation, but I didn't want to cut short on it. Thank you,
No,
Sharon.
no, it's very important because, like, you just see people doing these things. And even like when I was growing up, I had my aunts who, were reading the Ramayana all the time, but never really know the significance of why, it's so important. And now you find yourself, maybe it's also like as we grow through life and, we have so many challenges, we realize more the value of all this than when we were children. So it's really nice that you explain all this in so detailed a manner. So just saying hi to so many of my friends who are here. There's Viji there, hi Viji. There's Minnie, and then there's my aunt there, Indira Prabhakaran. So hi Kutima, nice to see you. There's my friend Kavita there. So guys, just please give in your questions and do not hesitate to ask. Use this time to take advantage of having Krishma ji here, and feel free to ask any question related. So I think we went through Minnie's question on the Kanyi, and then there is Ignatius uncle here, whose question is great respect for Ayurveda. Ignatius uncle himself is like a pediatrician doctor from the UK. He says, I know ashwagandha and its values in lowering sugar and cortisol levels and decreased anxiety and stress and depression. So, does the presence of heavy metals like lead, mercury, and arsenic, etc., affect our health?
Well, all those are essentials for the body. Every herb, people are so scared about steroids and lead, etc. Olden days, you go to Kerala houses at least, or at least Tamil Nadu, I know, you had vessels polished with lead. And the whole year, the food is cooked in that. And end of the year, you find one of those people coming and saying, "Can I redo your vessels?" All this went into your body in the appropriate quantities. And today people think, oh, Ayurveda full of lead and metals. Yes, steroids are originally from herbs. But the way we purify it, remove all of them. And there's nothing to be scared. The purification, the Shuddhikaranam is so beautifully done. For example, sulfur. In Western medicine, people have side effect for sulfur, but in Ayurveda that does not. Why? We boil the sulfur, make it into like a liquid, pour it into pure cow's milk. It gets crystallized, and you could see the amount of dirt that comes. That white milk becomes black. And believe me, we do it 100 times. And by the time you do 100 times, that yellow sulfur becomes more or less as white as possible. And at last time, the milk also continues to remain white. And this is not given in heavy doses. Your body demands those things. So all these minerals were there. These are not new modern nutritious findings that your body needs this and that. Like people from the US coming eats all sorts of vitamins. It is there in our food. And people say vegetarian food doesn't have, therefore we go for all sorts of other foods. A good balanced vegetarian food based on the constitution of yours. Most of the people come and say, I'm not well. I say, what is your most favorite food? And that is the most damaging item that I say, stop the curd. They say, oh my God, that's my favorite. That is what has created. I love fish. This is the reason. So always check with the physician. It's only today that the physicians have become costly. You need to take a what do you call registration and pay the money. Olden days, every village there was a Kudumba Vaidyan, there was a family consultant who tells you on his own, now this month is going to change. Stop eating these foods, take those foods. And during those times only, such sort of foods are recommended, and the body has a wonderful balance maintained.
Okay. So, since we were talking about food, like a couple of my cousins actually have messaged me some questions. So, one is there anything a person with diabetes can do to reduce dependence on medication?
Well, aharam, annam aushadam, we say. The food that you eat is the medicine. There are so many ways by which more than medication, medicine only lowers it. The food that we take, the right food, activates your pancreas, and that generates the insulin that's required for the body. And that again depends on your constitution. They say mango shouldn't be eaten by diabetic people. Well, it can be, provided you give up some other carbohydrate. You can't have everything on earth and then say, I don't want to be diabetic. Exercise, morning half an hour brisk walk. And all this was a natural process. And Kerala was supposed to have been the most healthiest state in India, the longest living people in India. Not now, I'm talking of the ancient days. Why? There was a habit, even the famous Marxist leader E.M.S. Namboodiripal's brother who used to tell me his mother used to make him walk 4 kilometers, go to the temple, do this many pradakshinam, huge campuses, and that walk make sure that the balance in the body is maintained. But today, no walk, eating all the wrong foods, eating at the wrong time, no proper sleep at the right time. There's a biological clock in your body which needs certain things at time. You don't feel it, you don't feed it, and then you ask for trouble. Condition your way of habit, reduce it. Number two, my experience is you don't have to eat even as much as one fourth of what you normally consume. This has seen almost everybody's life. Number two, it's not compulsorily cursing others and reducing and tell the wife, oh my God, you don't even give me whatever I want. But give up that passion for it. Give up the love for sweets. You can't have a heart for it because the heart also, without eating, absorbs the sugar from that food which you have. Keep it up and see, and you will see my sugar was always 9.9 HbA1c, and my American doctor used to say very bad balance, very bad food control. I used to have a lot of control, but I used to have a lot of vasanas for the food, for the sweets, etc. Now, when I gave up the vasana, mine has come to 6.3. And the same Dr. George says, wow, how did you manage it? I said, that's a secret I can't tell you, doctor. So you can do it. Control your food. And first, you will think emotionally, suddenly, if I reduce, will I not become weak? The weakness is in the mind, not in the body. Tell yourself you don't need it and stop it. There should be a dialogue within you between the heart and head. The head demands, the heart has to say, sorry, no, I will not with you. And tell me in the next meeting, I'm sure Shailaja will call me in the next 1 year or 3 months again, how much your sugar is. You'll be very happy.
Yeah, I think very well said about so many important points here that we really all eat much more than we need to eat. And that was also very beautiful how you talked about your own life and how it was not just giving up the food, but actually giving up the vasana for the food. So I think we have to really sacrifice or kind of give it up from the heart. I mean, I think it's no point craving it continuously as well. So to really understand, the whole need to kind of give it up to keep healthy. And also nice that you can balance out your food, like you don't have to completely give up like your love for mangoes or something, but you can actually balance it out by giving up some other carbohydrate food. I'm just stressing on all this because I think like Annam Aushadam, I really believe our diet is responsible for so many of our health problems. And if we can just gain some measure of control over our diets, I think many of our problems will be solved. So it's so important, this whole conversation on diet, and for us to look into our own diets and what we, because anybody who asks will say, oh, I have a great diet. But if you actually dissect it, write down and see exactly what you eat, then you will know that there are many things. This all from personal experience as well. So, I think diet is such a huge component of health, and we have to really have many conversations on this. So, this was actually a question from my cousin Minnie from Singapore. This is another cousin from Singapore, Reneti, and she says if a hardcore non-vegetarian admitted himself to in-house treatment, and would he be starting off at a disadvantage compared to a vegetarian person?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. What is it?
So, if somebody who's very, who's a non-vegetarian,
Yes.
if he admits himself for treatment,
Yeah.
would he be starting off at a disadvantage compared to somebody who's a vegetarian?
Not at all. Ayurveda very clearly recommends non-vegetarian foods, but again suited to your body condition. And normally the tongue has a bad habit of asking for the wrong foods. So in the fish, we say don't take a river fish, don't take the sea fish, don't take a pond fish. We can give you the options. The whole idea of not taking, especially during Ayurvedic treatment, is what we call pathyam. When the medicine has to go more into the stomach, when you got a heavy meal, the medicine doesn't get digested to that extent and go into all the various parts of your body, and doesn't get digested and gets pushed away, whereas a heavy meal doesn't allow. So keep yourself on a lighter diet and give prominence to the medicine at least during those days. After that, get back to your non-vegetarian food, which the physician shall prescribe, and you can happily live with varieties. And it has so many medicinal qualities. We say between a white goat and a black goat, what are the differences? The meat of something like this and something like that. All that has things. Reduce the fried. Most of the people have fried chicken and fried fish, etc. Have steamed. There are ways, recipes which gives you, Ayurveda itself gives the recipes how to cook certain non-vegetarian foods. Have them. And it's not only one variety. We have a beautiful book which says every nook and corner of India and its own food habits. That is based on what we call Ritucharya. In Ayurveda, very, very essential part, two things we got to know is Dinacharya. What are your daily routines? And that is based on the seasonal changes. Just as the climatic changes outside, there is a climatic change within your body. And if these two do not merge together, then there's a clash of interest. And the nature doesn't become the victim, you become the victim. So make sure you're guided by somebody. Today you said dietitian, and dietitian talks about your nutrition, etc. I asked the director of Indian Nutrition Institute, the world famous Hyderabad Institute. You mean to say before you emerged, India never had any proper nutritious foods? When I gave him 1 hour to talk, he said, I'm withdrawing my keynote address. I don't want to address because you gave me so more valuable points. For example, we saw a very remote village man in just a langoti giving advice how you take a neem leaf, throw away the leaf, put that twig in water, boil it. It looks like wonderful wine. Drink it every day, and he says you'll never get jwaram. And today, jwaram is the basis of today's COVID-19. How you can retain your body. Simple, ordinary, wasted twig. You can pick it up from under any neem tree. Of course, there are no trees at all nowadays in most of the places. But preserve one neem tree. That twig can safeguard your interest. Imagine how wonderfully you can have whatever you want, provided you're guided properly.
So, I mean, it was really interesting hearing. I mean, I think this was a first for me as well to know that actually Ayurvedic food did not, require you to be vegetarian, because I think that's a big misconception in everybody's minds that Ayurveda only recommends vegetarian food. So, for all the non-vegetarians out there, I mean, you can be relaxed that nobody's going to ask you to give up your non-vegetarian food completely. And in fact, they even have dietary guidelines on what is really better for you, like what kind of fish is better for you or what kind of meat is better for you. So that's really a big revelation. I myself did not realize that. And so many more questions coming here. So many known people to you also. There is Jay Auntie there, who knows you very well, says very informative. Shaili, love the way Onion talks, so interesting. So that's a nice thing for you.
Thank
And
you.
then,
Thank you.
and then there's also Lata Dinesh, who you might know as Lalu. So she's also watching this, and so many questions here. So I have Kavita here, who's asking about fasting. She wants to know, but even fasting, Kavita, there's also what kind of fast, right? There's fasting and there's fasting and there's fasting. So does Ayurveda have any particular fast?
Yes. See,
Okay.
either
Like, is it with fruits, without fruits, with only
not
water, without
necessarily.
water?
It can
Like,
be even on Nirjala fasting without water. Our wonderful Prime Minister Modi ji lived. He went to US having 34 programs, 9 days, no water even. One of the main security guards for Obama was a Malayali from Trichu. He showed a video and sent me and said, first time in the Oval Office, a dining table with not even a glass of water because the chief guest didn't want even water. And he
oh my
lived it.
God.
There was no lack of help. And the officers who went with him said they're very difficult with this man because normally they are given a 5-star hotel to stay and only morning they take off. He said, all of you sit in the aircraft. I will finish my meeting, rush, come and take the flight. And he comes to India and goes straight to the office. So it is all in the mind. And once in this Ekadashi Vratam, they say, you try it out, it gives you so much of energy. We have overeaten so much, there is so much of undigested food, there is so much of toxins in your body.
I agree.
And a Japanese scientist got his Nobel Prize for this fasting theory in India. Most of the last 5 Nobel Prizes are based on Indian concepts. But unfortunately, we don't consider it scientific. The great foreigner feels it so scientific, and he takes up all this. Try the fasting. It's very difficult. That is the day when maximum parties and invitations would be there for you to say it, and for you to say, no, I'm not a dustbin and I cannot put it to me, will give you health so much that you will be waiting for the day that you go for the fast next time. Of course, some people can't take it. You can have, for example, they say certain what do you call elements. Some people take potato. The Gujaratis take potato and say we'll have only that. Some people take juices, depending on your health condition. If you're already not well, then don't get into trouble by saying I took my medicines and antibiotics without any food, and that's a bad side effect. But start it from childhood days, and once you make it part of your spiritual practice, your body, mind, soul, especially your spirit, gets so charged that you would love to fast. And now it's become a passion. Most of the people, and that is for what? Weight reduction. Monday I fast, Wednesday I fast, Thursday for my husband, Friday for my child, get married, not to get married, to get divorced, everything that you fast. So, and then you
I don't think to get divorced.
There's actually one lady told me, I asked for getting my divorce fast. I said, very good. Hmm. Now, you don't do that. Either that doesn't work as for fasting, so you kill your cells. You know, a very famous politician from India who went to a naturopathic institute. They gave him only white gourd juice in the morning and certain liquid during the day. He was so successful within 21 days, 30 kilos he reduced. He went back to Delhi, landed, and next morning he never woke up from the bed. He died. So don't try that sort of extreme fasting. Fast when you are in good health, not when you become too heavy, and then say for reduction of weight. It is the day when you spend more time with the Lord, but and you tell the whole world, today you know I'm fasting. As though it's a great yaga that you're doing for the public. I'm on fast today. Better you eat instead of having it in the mind. As I told you, the vasana for the food is there, but under compulsion for somebody's sake, you're fasting. No, don't even open the topic about food and fasting. Try it out. You'll enjoy it. You'll love it, and that gives a lot of activities for the body, and mainly detoxification takes place. Today, every American comes to a hospital for treatment saying, detoxify me. They know the water they take is full
Keyword.
of toxicity, the air that they breathe is toxic, the food that they eat is toxin, and they become so conscious, health conscious. And today, the non-vegetarian got the other extremes calling vegans. We don't take milk, we don't take butter, we don't take cheese. Those who are eating kilos of cheese have given up that. That is also not required. Keep the center path. Keep a life balanced with good food, timely food, well cooked food. And today I keep joking, whichever house invites me for a dinner, is it labeled food? They say, what is labeled food? You made it in November last year and you have been recooked in the fridge and you make me eat all that, and I get into trouble. So don't have old food. Olden days, the priest, after the puja, they make the rice. After 2.5 yamam, they say, which is equal to nearly 5 hours, your food is supposed to be stale. And today, for convenience sake, you make it in the morning up to dinner because you got to rush for a work. And the leftover you carry for next day morning breakfast. And these are all old, stale food. And you thereby become a stale living body.
Okay, so this was a really interesting topic on fasting. And the only thing I want to add is that I truly believe, again, I'm just repeating myself, but I truly believe we eat much more than necessary. And I think through fasting, what I have found from my own personal experience is that we actually get more energized. In fact, I feel the less we eat, the more energy that we have. And I think a lot of the energy we have naturally just goes away in digesting our food, and all of that is really saved when we don't eat so much. So I think fasting is a great thing. Every health person into health will recommend it. So that was a great information about fasting, and I love that aspect also of not going into extremes. Yeah. So talking about stale food, there's a question here exactly on that. This is from Lakshmi, and she asks, "Will a day-old cooked food, even when refrigerated, be considered harmful?" So just
Very harmful.
continuing on that.
You refrigerate it, then you put in the microwave to heat it, and by this cooling and heating process, not only that the food value within that is lost, but it invites a lot of other negative forces also into it. Try not to do it, and therefore be alpahari by cooking the right amount of food necessary. Doesn't matter if somebody didn't get food one day, let them go to bed without food. But instead of waiting for them, and invariably the men folk have a habit, come back home and say, I already ate outside because we had an official dinner. Put them to fast on that day. Don't give them dinner. If you had a dinner officially when going out and eating without notice, put them on water, go to bed, they'll have a good sleep, they'll wake up, they'll have a good breakfast from you. But try to avoid it. And nowadays, people have invented in Gujarat, they've invented a mud refrigerator so that you don't have electricity, keeping it without getting spoiled. You can preserve the food that way. That is still better. And now Japan has condemned microwaves. Don't do that, they say. And now in India, everybody says, oh, I bought a microwave now. So everything that should not be done and which was not being done in India are the ones. Whereas rice, you know how MGR looked even at that late age, fair and healthy. He used to put rice in water at night in a mud pot, and morning with onions and that was his breakfast. Even on a heavy shooting schedule, and that gives you a lot of health. So old food being refrigerated and heated is the wrong part of it. Rice cannot be thrown away when you cook it. Put it in cold water. Put it in mud pot so that there is enough oxygenation going into the pot, in and out of it goes. And early morning with a piece of onion and preferably chili, it balances your diet. It gives you wonderful health. And the whole day you don't have to eat it. And there are so many natural herbs. I sent 3 of my girls who are my students in Ayurveda to a tribal lady. That lady woke up in the morning, pulled out some kira, the greens, took the milk of the twig and put one tikka for them. And they said, now we are going into the forest hunting for herbs. Until evening, you will not become hungry. Look at the miracle.
Oh, wow.
And I asked her for the herb and she showed me. She said, I can make payasam with that kira for you. It was so tasty. We have, God has been kind enough to give such a great forest wealth. Instead of that, we create so many artificial things. And now, thanks to lockdown, almost every hotel and restaurant is closed. You don't get a chance to eat. And all the women folk have now started. You can see every channel in the evening. What is that? New names have come how to make food. 3-minute food, 5-minute food, simple food, healthy foods, and home food. Almost every home had stopped cooking because you find everybody on the street either with a fast food or a dabawala, and these are all oils which have been reheated. In Madras and Grand Sweets, once they make a fried murku or chida and other thing, that oil is given free. You can see a big queue outside standing, and that is why they have such a wonderful business ethics. But at hotel and at homes, you can see the same oil put in a bottle and preserved for the next day. It becomes poisonous. And today the latest is double refined oil, triple refined oil. The more refined oil is, the more carcinogenic it is. And that's why now you find in every town the chakku, the natural, the bull pulling the oil, the gingerly and the coconut and taking out oil. And that is a good one instead of refined oil. But they think the more refined, the more unrefined you become. So go back to the old habits. And there are lots of grandmothers still left over from whom you can take over before they leave the earth. Or books have started coming. Now, the Bombay girl who's a patient of ours, who's now making a life in a very big way learning the foods that he learns from a canteen, goes back, come with a diet book, and she cooks for corporate bodies. I said, by selling 400 meals a day, do you make a living? She says, I charge heavily. Ordinary simple food which you could have made at home is charged so heavily. And today, every foreigner wants to know what are the Indian spices. All the spices in your kitchen are medicines. Starbucks is selling golden milk at a huge cost. What is golden milk? Milk with turmeric powder, which
Correct.
all our seniors used to have before going to bed. A cup of milk with turmeric and a little pepper. That keeps you so good. All the poison that you ate during the day and it's streptomycin. It has an effect to remove all the poisons in the body. These are all old habits, nothing new. Old wine coming back in new bottles and being sold as foreign goods. Those countries have patented it, and now it's. And there are so many other ways purifying. Now we have made this aparajita churnam. Everybody has started asking us. This evening onwards, we are starting to make aparajita cup. Burn it at home. It kills all the viruses. Early days, you had sambrani being burnt, neem leaves put in a pot, and they come. And in every town, you could see some Muslim people having mud pot with that fumigation being done. They go to every shop and do it, and whatever the extra they get, they accept it. All this is gone. And you in Kerala, especially, since most of the names you called out are from Kerala, friends, something called Pullu and Patar. The couple who comes and sits without even your permission inside your compound, sings a song. The husband has got a single stringed, what do you call, violin, and the wife has got a mud pot with another string on that. They both sing. And when Swamiji was asking a huge women's conference crowd, how many of you heard Pullu and Patar? Nobody had heard. Then he sang it and said, Atharva Veda talks about 134 viruses, the names of the viruses, the definition of their surupa. And today, we are still trying to find what viruses are. So these are all great hidden thing, but we had no time for ourselves. We had time for every nonsense on earth. And today, when you are crippled, in the sense not allowed to move out under lockdown, just started. And today, the number of webinars, everybody wanting to know how to improve immunity. I keep saying, after the building, your house is on fire, you're calling a water diviner to find out where to dig a well to pull water and start putting the fire off. By the time the house would be in completely shambles. Therefore, at least the next generation of your children, and Ayurveda talks a lot about gerontology, geriatrics, old age illnesses, old age diseases, how to preserve it. And the greatest contribution you can do or people can learn from Shailaja is the yoga. Started from the young days, simple asanas, and gradually, as and when the body can take more, take it, and you find every cell in the body is kept healthy. So, the right amount of yoga with the right amount of good food can make sure you are the most healthiest person who can live a Purna Ayus. And what is a Purna Ayus? 120 years. But nowadays they start celebrating 40th year because you don't know by 41 you are dead and gone. So they invite and say, today we're giving a surprise party to my auntie who's becoming 40. And what? Why should you give her a party at the age of 40? She is supposed to contribute to the world by doing good deeds. So there is so much to be followed. And so many granthas available, which we can open up. And today almost all of them are available in translation. You can download it, read it, spend some time for yourself. And this is not great charity you're doing for anybody else, for your own welfare.
Okay, so there's a question from my friend Kavita, you know, Sendal's wife. So she says, any food to avoid uric acid, and for a 50-year-old vegetarian who practices yoga regularly.
Well, accumulation of urea in your content and uric acid Main thing is to make sure of your kidneys being activated. Taking plenty of herbal water, for example, jeera water or water with ginger in it, can flush out most of these things. With that, you can have a little bit of pepper. This combination, the patient can be taken to a physician, again, depending on the body condition. Nowadays, we get people with 19 creatinine going to down to 3. Before you send them, if you send them to allopathic hospital, they make sure they do dialysis, and that is the end of it. They'll never send the patient back saying, Ayurveda can create hell for you. But today, with the fear of going into dialysis, etc., it's become so frequent. And nephrology is somewhere where Ayurveda is very strong. Make sure that the uric content in your thing is reduced as early as possible before you get into higher, bigger problems. And simple herbal waters can can reduce it. Not even medicine required. Herbal water can help you. With of course certain decoctions if you can take.
Okay.
For example, the thorn which you pull out of your leg when you walk in a Kerala temple, village temple, and you say, ouch, my leg has been poked by a thorn. That thorn is a very valuable herb for putting your kidney back in order. Put that narinjal in water, boil it and keep it in a, not in the fridge, of course, in a bottle outside. Have it 1 liter a day. Your outflow of urine will start a lot more, and you'll find all the other balances coming into normal condition.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure this will really help Kavita and Sandal. So this is another question by my friend Anamika, who also you know quite well. She asks if eating amla helps immunity. She says everybody says it's an immunity booster.
Yes, so vitamin full of vitamin C. Full of vitamin C. There are other ways by which you can put it. The North Indians poke it and put it in honey and keep it. And one amla a day can give a lot of health vitality. And that is what Chyawanprash is full of. That's what our Prime Minister kept saying for improving your immunity. Take Chyawanprash. Not necessary. You can have even amla. Taking in a balanced way. One amla a day, they say apple a day keeps the doctors away. One amla a day can also help you to keep the doctor away.
I guess we have our own Indian answer to that. And this is a question by my cousin Prakash. He says Ayurveda is a way of living and it's a traditional science of our country. However, over a period of time, Ayurveda has been replaced by modern medicine and related treatments, which you had mentioned earlier. So basically, this is a question. What steps are Ayurvedic institutions like yours and the government taking to restore and regain Ayurveda and its practices in our country?
Plenty, plenty. Thanks to Modi ji, ever since he came back, he was kind enough to call for a conference of a few of us, and I gave him 7 points. All the 7 he accepted. Created a task force, and more than 91 research projects are happening. And today we are starting a project on COVID with Ayurvedic medicine for extreme bad conditions in the oldest Stanley Medical College. And Kerala state has accepted putting on various schemes the preventive aspects that people are asymptomatic, the quarantine product levels, and the chronic patients with Ayurveda. And there you find the results are very good. And Kerala had nil patients of COVID. Thanks to all the 90 flights and 100 flights that came from other countries, along the flights, more than the patients, more coronas came into India, more viruses came into Kerala. Again, you can take it back. And today, when I started the Gurukula College, to get 20 students, I could finally get only 7 of them way back in 78. And now for 20 seats, we have 400 applications coming up. And the government is now wanting to revive the old system, the Gurukula system. Research projects are going, more and more surveys are happening. And especially because the white man started coming from almost every country, including China and Japan, they're coming to learn Ayurveda. And seeing this, our Indian friends said, oh, is it? Then I will also join Ayurveda college. Today itself, I had more than 3 girls calling and saying we were 89%, 90%. When I joined the Ayurvedic college, those who scraped through the college and never got admission at Butler's College or a Cobbler's College came to learn Ayurveda. And with due respect to your audience, if any allopathic doctors there, I say you need big brain to learn allopathy, 6 feet by 3 feet, and that is your world. And with some textbook medications. In Ayurveda, you should know every planet, every plant, every metal, every mineral, every animal also, because animal meat is used for so many medications. And one of the most tempting things which everybody wants to know at old age is, do you have an aphrodisiac in Ayurveda? And we say best is to have a medicine which we specially make out of crocodiles for you. They say, oh, really? But unfortunately, you can't kill them now. So we escape by not making them the biggest market. And unfortunately, our Irish friends are not aware of it. Otherwise, they would have made, and these days you find some of the companies all the time advertising Ayurveda as so something they found out now. They were doing all the wrong business and coming with claims. But, and mongoose, we use it for Parkinson's disease. We use dogs for medicines. So many wonderful, wonderful remedies are. So it is coming back in a big way. And you said you lost Ayurveda to allopathy. Now Ayurveda is coming back with vengeance. And within short time, I'm sure it's not an alternative system of medicine in India. It's going to be the mainstream of medicine, not only in India, the whole world is going to accept it. Even now, National Institute of Health America conducted a survey and found more than 65% of the population of US lives on Ayurveda, directly, indirectly, in the name of supplement or in the name of food supplements, so many other names. They take the licenses, FD, and go there. And almost every home is on some powder or something that they keep taking. And turmeric has now become a tablet, turmeric capsules, turmeric this, as though turmeric is a single window solution for all the problems. Not really. Coconut. Kerala, everybody had a bath in coconut oil, drank coconut oil, cooked in coconut oil. What all did they do with coconut oil, we don't know. Then to sell all the unwanted oil from other countries, they created stories how dangerous cholesterol can happen. Now they say cholesterol is not even a parameter for you to consider. And now you have young girls who are mad, start the day with 2 spoons of coconut oil. Who gives them the prescription? We don't know. They think coconut oil can make them continue to live as young as they are always. God save them.
Yeah, it's so true that all the traditional medicines have come back, especially in the West, in a big way. I mean, another thing, like you were talking about turmeric, I think the other thing that I find, everywhere is our Muringa ila, which I think Moringa they call it. So that also is so popular now as a supplement, and everybody's talking about it. But these are all things that grew in our backyard.
What about jackfruit? That's become another miracle.
Okay.
It used to be sold at 2 rupees in Kerala roadside. Now we ask for a jackfruit 95 rupees because everybody is eating jackfruit.
Yeah, I heard they're exporting also, right?
Plenty of
Yeah.
foods
Yeah.
are being cooked in jackfruit. Tapioca, they say, oh God, it's a great ginseng of India. It's only the poor man who couldn't buy vegetables just to cook and eat and go to the farm to work because it doesn't get digested easily. Now it's become a fancy food. So all the past things that they did, our ancestors were not fools. They never had knowledge, but they had wisdom. And you're full of nonsensical knowledge today, thanks to the Google Acharya and all those internet that gives you all the foods. Go back to the ancient ways. And ancient ways included early morning wake up. There are Brahme Murte Uttishte. Ayurveda says 1.5 hours before sunrise, wake up. There are things to be done. There's a thanksgiving for the Lord who gave you all the free air that you're breathing. Though polluted air, you're still getting it free. Water that you got, which of course now you have to pay for by the bottles which are poisonous. All this was created by you in the name of development. Whether you developed or you degraded your life is visibly seen today because everybody is sick. Even at birth, children are born with autism. Why? The expectant mothers lived the wrong way of life. And there were prescribed ways of life, even when you should get married and you should not get married. When should you have a child and you should not have children? What more personal care and attention? And today, in Western medicine, earlier it was illicit generalization. Same drug for everybody. And now they are becoming individualistic, called reverse pharmacology. And that is what Ayurveda is. And the world is realizing it now. And you can find more and more beautiful articles coming up, and people have started living it.
So I guess the moral of really this particular conversation is that we should truly value what we have, and we don't need to wait for it to come from the West with some kind of scientific explanation. And that's what happens with everything. I mean, even with yoga, right? Initially, we have no value for it, and then when we saw the rest of the world was so much into yoga, and of course, thanks to Modi ji as well, who is such an inspirational leader from the front,
Specify
who
good yoga,
practices
not
yoga
Vikram yoga.
himself.
Please specify good yoga like yours and not Vikram yoga. You must have heard about the famous Vikram yoga who fell sick and contacted me and said, "Can I come for treatment?" He used to have 5,000 students at a time, heat up the hall with heaters and warm up the body. The
Yeah.
body has to be warmed up through yoga and not through external heating. That is not the way.
Correct. Yeah. So many more questions. So we'll just take some more. How is this is from Giridhar? So how Pancha Mahabhuta and Tridosha interlink? How do they link?
Well, all of us are Panchabautik. And when I say all of us, including the rocks and the trees and everything. And Tridosha, every human being have a balance. Ayurveda is based on the Tridosha Siddhanta, the Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And in the body, the regions have been very clearly said which part of your body is full of Vata, which part is Pitta, which is Kapha. The right balance, again based on your weight and height and texture, there is a ratio. When that ratio goes out of balance, that is ill health, and you bring back the balance, that is health. Very simple technique, but you should know. And Vata Pitta Kapha is the Prakriti on which we learn, depending on the color of your hair, whether it is brownish or blackish. From there, your nails, your toenails, your fingernails, everything is taken into account. And then we say, you are a Vata Pitta Prakriti. Then we have the Trigunas in you, the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So suppose, and in Philadelphia, I saw policemen were being recruited based on Tridosha Siddhanta. You have a
Really?
you have a Kaba Prakriti man, he cannot be a policeman, neither can he run, nor can he get up when he gets a phone call. The most laziest one of them are the Pitta Kaba Prakriti. The Pitta is what is required in police force, which is full of, hyper. And Vata is too spiritual and too evolved. He says, Karmam, whatever has to happen will happen. You can't have a policeman like that also. So, based on those gunas. So, all these are natural when you are born. The Panchabhutas, the Panchabhautika gunas in you, the Tridosha Siddhantas in you. And all this is again combination of water, air contributes to this, earth and water contributes to this. These are wonderful ratios, which is you find even in spiritual textbook. You go into Tattva Bodha, and this is where my humble request, not only dieting and food, as you grow older, please start looking into some of these great, valuable books. All of us are in search of happiness. And there's a book called Aparokshanubhuti, Eternal Happiness Blissful. Today you're happy the minute you buy a product, but even that by the time you go home, you are sad because you find it doesn't function. The other day somebody bought lots of goods for my office gift and came, and only mine worked, others didn't work. He was so sad. I said, very good. So don't depend on temporary happiness. Look out for permanent. And India is the only country which has given you various techniques and solutions. There are the chakras in your body. This is another great miracle through yoga. Of course, I don't have to tell you, but your audience should know. Starting from your Muladhara, if you can take yourself to Sahasrara. This morning, somebody messaged and asked me after the satsang, can a dead man be born again? Provided before the Atma leaves the body. And you must have heard about a very famous Muslim woman who died and was brought back to life and became big controversy. How they opened up the skull and introduced certain medication, and she was brought back. These are the great mysteries. It's not only incredible India seeing Taj Mahal or Qutub Minar, but incredible if India is also within your body. The Taj Mahal, the Qutub Minar, everything is there inside. But we are so ignorant because India never had wisdom. So everybody went to US, and today US universities are not having enough sufficient students, and the Americans have started coming here, and now we are planning to have University of Indian Shastras. Many universities have started giving various subjects on this, and the ancient Indian MRI in India was my famous topic of astrology. There are so many things which you can find out what your ancestors 7 generations ago did. If you was a terrible fellow, seventh generation can get into trouble. And you say, knowingly, I never did any harm to anybody. Not necessary. Your great, 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 great grandfather was a criminal, and his killing is affecting you. And what other way? MRI doesn't show. And MRI misguides. I know patients who went, somebody who went to US Embassy to get a visa. They took all the tests and said, perfect health. Just wait for your report. When they came with the report, he had slept once for all in the bench of the US, of the embassy itself. Does the machine help you? Whereas an astrologer can never misfire. And we have pulled out enough people from the intensive care unit by doing special kriyas. And that is what in Ayurveda we call Deva Vipashya Chikitsa. But these are all forgotten topics. And now youngsters, our friend who want to know about what is being done for Ayurveda, every morning there is a class for 700 Ayurvedic students from morning 6 to 8 on all these Shastras, which means a new generation of Vaidyas are going to come back who will take over the science and make it popular for the benefit of the world.
Beautiful. Very nice hearing that. So there's just one more question here. Is there anything to lower BP and cholesterol? This is by
Well,
Arvind.
meditation that helps the BP to come down. Of course, Ayurvedic prescription is plenty. Doing dara, sakkara dara made of buttermilk or taila dara made of oil can reduce your blood pressure, has been proved scientifically. Best thing is, why do you depend on anything external? Many people say you run an Ayurvedic organization and you speak against Ayurveda. Our interest is not in finding more patients, in trying to see how we avoid patients. We have started a clinic for preventive medicine. Ayurveda is basically preventive, promotive, ultimately curative. If you can take to deep meditation, control your food habits, your BP will automatically come. And even those who are not condemned as BP patients, on certain days when they become hyper, their BP shoots off. And this is why you need to have a balanced day. Waking up in the morning, doing your meditation, doing your yoga, keep up that lifestyle, eat the right food at the right time, have enough exercise, and you find there is no question of any BP or any bad situation. Your pulse will be perfect 72, and the oxygen capacity to assimilate oxygen will be 9, if not 100, at least 99. And then why bother about the doctor and medicine? But today everybody thinks if you are not on medicine, something wrong with you. It should be the other way around. If you are on medicine, something is wrong. Why are we not aware of this? And we are not talking about any object outside your body. It is your own valuable body, which we are going to take care of. But you don't care for it because you have no goal in life. You have no purpose in life. All of us should have a purpose in life. And that is there you take care of the vehicle in which you are supposed to travel, which means the Atman should travel in the Shariram until you complete your. And unless you complete your prarabdha karmas removed, the Lord doesn't take you back. And that's why many people pray and say, my Richamadhyaya, I wish I die. No, it's not possible. And even for that, I have a solution. Do Shankabhishek. And people say, in 20 minutes, grandfather died. Thank you so much. So I'm a good killer also.
Oh,
There are
you.
methods for that. So tell the problem and India as a solution, or rather Hinduism as a solution.
Anyway, this is really wonderful information, and very nice to see Dr. Ananda, who was also on this talk a little bit earlier, and very popular too. And he says preventive, promotive medicine with from within, strengthening the individual. So I guess really the key is to strengthen the individual from within.
Absolutely, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. And so this is my favorite question for you, because I happen to know you well and I know your lifestyle. So I wanted you to share like a few, some, like everybody's into like 6 tips to improve your life kind of thing. So like I thought maybe some 5 lifestyle habits that we can adopt. But before you start, I just want to say some things myself. So, as far as I know about Krishmaji, he is one of the most, in my own life, he has been the most generous and helpful person that I have known. And it's not just my information, there are other people also who have told me the same thing about him. So, anybody who's lucky to come in contact with him will tell you the same thing. Then, we already spoke about his time thing, where he sleeps only like 4 hours a day. And the other very beautiful thing that I have learned from him is his beautiful, strong, very strong faith in God. Yeah, where it's not just where faith is not just a word, and his relationship with God is not just a prayer in the morning or prayer in the evening, but it is a very alive, moment to moment, mostly friendly, sometimes not so friendly relationship that he has with God. Yeah. So it's like God is with him all the time, and he's like having this eternal conversation with God, and sometimes happy with him. And if things don't, I remember him saying, why I'm saying this is because once I heard you say very clearly that, you tell God that, I go out in your name. So you better make sure that everything works out, according to your plan kind of thing. So I found that extremely because for us all, God, prayer, everything is very okay. It happens at a certain time in your day, but you have this ongoing, continuous relationship with Him, which I found really fascinating. So okay, so that's my take on some of the great attitudes that we could all adopt. But you can also share some things that you think are important.
Well, the 5 things you mentioned, which I say is very clearly, and everything comes under that, are the 5 weaknesses of your mind: Mama, Krodha, Mother, Moha, Matsalya. Today, everybody is full of lust, Kama. And that's why you find grandfather raping a 3-year-old granddaughter, Kama, Krodha, anger. Everybody is, and those are the ones who contribute to global warming. Our earlier friend who asked about Panchabhautikam. Your 5 elements. When you get angry, you are contributing so much of heat. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi has done so much of research. When in the jail in Spain, he paid people meditate, and you find the warming, and that area was cooling down better. Kamam, Krodham, Madam, you're mad because we say Madam Padichamari. I need to acquire the property. I need to be the richest in the world. Thank God many of them are behind the bars now. That Kama, Krodha, Mother, Moha, desire. Give up your desires. Try to not use the 5 elements of your body, the indriyas of yours. Anything that you see, I need to buy it tomorrow. Best sari I saw in the bus, or I saw a friend in the party, I need to buy it. You don't have the money, tell the husband to take a bribe next morning, and they are the ones who make the husbands the most corrupt people. And the poor fellow also goes like somebody now in Kerala got suspended for this guy is Moham. It happened. Kama, Krodha, Mother, Moha, Matsalya, competition. I need to take over companies. I need to buy that. I need to buy that house. Why this lust? Why this anger? If those things can be controlled and be peaceful, there can't be a better way of living. And anything other than this will all come under that. So instead of saying don't tell lies and be good, they say be sattvic and assess yourself. Swami Shivananda said every night before going to bed, draw a balance sheet. All of us are used to balance sheet, preparing it for the auditor, for the, of course, they are all false balance sheet to cheat the income tax. But be honest to yourself. Yesterday I told 4 lies, I know that. Today I said only 2. Oh my God, 50%, 100% improvement in. I never did any charity yesterday. Today I did 3 charities, and that is 300% improvement. Like this, assess yourself, improve yourself, become a better human being, and then you find just be, not being. We are all called human beings because we are never perfected ourselves. But masters say, just be. And then you find you're the most healthiest person. You complete not 120, like some great masters whom I saw. There was Sufi saint in Pollachi, very close to Coimbatore, whose radiological X-ray showed his bones were 400 years old.
Oh my God.
In 25 years, I used to go to him. He had never taken food. He had never gone to the washroom, never gone to toilet. And when I rubbed his feet, it smelled sandal. Whereas today we don't take a bath and somebody touches us, you know how he stinks. Which means your inner can generate such wonderful practice. These are the 5 suggestions I'd say. Kama, Krodha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya. And even at the age of 85, people wanting to compete with some other businesses somewhere. Why? What do you want? Even Alexander the Great put his hands both out of the coffin and said, even Alexander the Great doesn't take anything while he departs. And are you going to take anything with you? Live happily. Don't accumulate. And these days, the children don't even want your wealth because they make much bigger money by learning a lot more than you. So, whom are you earning for? Live it. There are 75-year-old people who come and say, sitting quiet at home, can you find some occupation for me? I said, Uncle, how much do you think you need for that? No, 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 I am not looking for much. There's some 75,000, 80,000 rupees. At that stage, to cremate him, you don't need more than 500 rupees. And why does he need 80,000 rupees? So when does this moham go? Leave it. Let go. Sri Ravi Shankar's great saying, let go. And that way, if you can live it, you're the most successful person. And yesterday I was reading a Chinese story where an emperor asking a great Zen master, what is prosperity? Give me a page for my future generation. He says, give me a long white paper. And he writes, the grandfather died, the father died, the son died. The emperor was so angry and he said, what nonsense. This is the message. He said, suppose your son dies, how sad you would be. And suppose your grandson dies, your son, and you are going to be sad. So go in order. You be first, let your son go next, third, and that is the most prosperous person. So let us all be prosperous in the right sense. But today you hear so and so died, and his grandmother is still alive at 96 with full of memory power. How to tell her, we don't know. And this has become a daily routine now because of the bad karmas of all the 3 generations. This is what I would say.
Okay, there's another very striking aspect of Krishmaji's personality, which is his concept of time. Yeah, he's extremely punctual with time, and in fact, it's quite embarrassing because when he came to launch my book in Coimbatore, the event was supposed to start at a particular time, and when he came, they were actually just we were supposed to do a performance, so they were building the stage. So I had these people running to me really horrified, like saying, "Oh, the chief guest has come, but the stage is not ready." But he was very, I think he's used to this situation, so he was very calm about it, and he was like, "Never mind, I'll just wait, just relax, let things happen." So he's always early everywhere, and I have several of my students here as well who are also like that, extremely early with time. But a lot of us, unfortunately, even in India, I think Indian Standard Time is unfortunately become very notorious for lack of keeping time. And even in Malaysia, we have this constant excuse that is used all the time about traffic jam, being stuck in traffic jam. So can you just explain, I've heard you talk about this in the satsang about the importance of keeping time. So can you just say something about that?
Well, as a chancellor of my university, I keep telling all my girls, you don't keep up time, you don't get your periods on time, you don't get married on time, you don't get a child on time. keep up. We say Nalla Kalam Varate, let good times come. What does it mean? Time is God. And respecting it, you say something, keep it up. And you're not able to keep it up because you don't mean it when you say it. So just mean it and do it. And first you start controlling time, and a time that comes when time will start controlling you. You don't even have to have a watch. And this I learned from Swami Chinmayanji and my own father. Chinmayanji in Calcutta, you go and land up, he doesn't know where he's staying, he doesn't know where the stage is. He said, 6 o'clock I shall be on the stage. And I used to wonder, does he know the traffic in Calcutta and Mumbai? And he's there, and you find it happens. And even if you make it early, you find you get into the wrong signal or the railway gate is closed, and the Lord says, no, you said 6, I will not allow you before time. And once you keep it up, you find, and today, one thing which you find in people's life is, I don't know why nothing is happening in my life. Nothing shall happen, God willing, because you never ever respected time. Respect time, and there's miracles, wonders happen in your life. Try it. This is not a joke that I'm saying it. I learned it that way. And indirectly now, people call me a terrorist in India, in Coimbatore. All the Malayali associations, we have 96 of them. They say 5 o'clock, sharp, the program starts, and then they say, you just come by 6:30, 6:40. No way. So they think this fellow came late. And when you go there, I used to jokingly say, broomstick is also in my car, I can open the hall. And I don't know why. Why are we not able to? As though you are such a busy fellow, make it few minutes early. Morning for satsang you saw, and when we started, when I say 5 o'clock, you can see 5 o'clock, everybody rushing to the laptop and opening. And now you see them coming by 4:30, 4:45, 50. Take 5 minutes in advance. I come and sit at the laptop at 4 o'clock to make sure that it opens and it works and the Zoom is not stuck and your internet works and so many things to be checked up. It's a commitment to society. And there's a great man who taught me, even if one man comes on time, keep up, because you should not be victimized for having coming on time. And I taught this to the great T.N. Sheshan. In Trichur, he was a terror as a chief election commissioner of India. In Trichur, he was sitting in the guest house and somebody said, sir, the hall is just getting full, so we'll go late. I said, no, sir, you shall get up and go there. If one man is on time, he should not be victimized. He said, greatest lesson you taught me in life. And thereafter, he was on the stage 2 minutes before time. And I learned it from Arun Shauri, who told me this. When I took him for a ride saying, all is not full, he said, no, Krishna Kumar, just because somebody came on time, let him not be victimized. These are all great lessons, which is part of your success in life. And you don't get many things, and you find almost everything that you lose. You go for an auction, it is either late, or it got before time, or you got stuck in the traffic, and you don't make it. And the daily excuse in every city is, oh my God, today's traffic was horrible. Every day the traffic is it's nothing new. Plan your life, and when you plan it that way, you find everything is on the dot. And that is my experience. And it's beautiful to see it that way. And by doing that, you find lots of people improving. So a 1% can make a change. There are so many societies in Coimbatore saying, oh my God, he's coming, then we better rush. I said, doesn't matter if you don't get crowds. So what? Those who don't deserve cannot come there. Keep it. But for a meal, you go to especially Trivandrum, I keep saying, the marriage is on or not, everybody is in the dining hall, eat and go without even greeting. Another extreme of that. Don't be before time to go for lunch. Keep it. The Kalam and Kalan. Kalan is Yaman, who comes on time. It doesn't give you a single hour extra other than what is prescribed. You're rightly looking at the clock. I've taken 19 extra minutes, more than 1 hour of your time.
No. We have to, yeah, we're just ending. But I just wanted you to, I didn't want you to end without that Shanti mantra. So in the satsang this morning, he was chanting this beautiful mantra, And I especially requested him to close this session with that. And one thing I want to say is what has always struck me about the scriptures, our scriptures, is that it is so universal in whatever it writes. Like it's never about only for the people who read it, or it's only for a certain sect, or only for a certain religion, people who follow a certain religion. It's always completely universal, right? So even that term like loka samasta sukhino bhavantu is like, may the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. And even like this particular one, it talks about the waters, it talks about the rivers, it talks about the ocean, like, it just incorporates, shanti to everything. And that I find is so beautiful about our scriptures. So with that, please conclude.
Well, something which everybody misses in life are full of ashanti, no peace at all. And this is something we say, as you think, so you are. So start your day, end your day with a very famous Shanti mantra. There are four. The most popular is the Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Gunatu, or Bonaktu, and all that. Started, may everything be auspicious, may everything be good, everything. The Shanti mantra is something where we start Om Dhyahu Shantihi. May the universe be peaceful. Antariksham Shanti. May the atmosphere be peaceful. And today, atmosphere is not peaceful with the COVID threat everywhere. There is no Shanti there. Prithvi Shanti. May the earth be peaceful. Apaha Shanti. May the water be peaceful. If that is not peaceful and it is full of negativity, it creates problem for you. Vanaspataya Shanti. May all the Vanaspatis, all that is required to eat, Vanaspatis, products, may they have Shanti. May Aushadaya Shanti, may the medicinal herbs, plants be Shanti, they have it. Deva Shanti, even may the gods be peaceful. If they are not peaceful, you have this lockdown situation. Brahma Shanti, not only gods, you will make him exclusive because he created you. If he is not a peaceful way and he creates it, that's the time when you have Dracula's born on earth. So may Brahma Shanti. Sarvam Shanti, may everything be peaceful. Shanti Reva Shanti, may peace be peaceful. Even if that peace is disturbed, it becomes difficult. Shanti Sa Ma Shanti. Yadi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Such a small, beautiful mantra, if you can by heart it and chant it and start it, doesn't matter if the world is in turbulence, you will be happy and peaceful. This is what I'm enjoying these days. And people come and say, what is your opinion about? There's one famous Malayalam character actor who's called Mamukoya. So somebody and you saw all the actors and actresses break the chain, coming and saying, please wear your mask and please wash your hands and soap. Somebody went and asked him, what do you think? What is your advice for that? He said, so if you don't know to pray for your own peace, it's your problem. So take to the Shanti mantra, chant it. While taking food, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deha Mashrita Pranapana Samayukta Padamanyam Chaturvidam. The food that you take is that morsel of food that you take is the firewood for the fire in your body. And unless you have the fire, people say, I have no digestion because there is no fire. The gas cylinder in his body is empty. Unless that fire cooks the food. And that food which cooks it is what brings all the sapta dhatus, your blood and your bone and your marrow and your sperm and all those things. So for everything there are mantras. And all this takes 1 minute. Do that. May all of you enjoy and be happy with enough Shanti and blessed with Ayur Arogya Saukyam. Not only you, your family, your friends, everybody around you be happy. And may you, Shailaja, you and your students and your family be blessed with Ayur Arogya Saukyam. Thank you for the wonderful session. Thanks to all of those who gave me opportunity to speak so much, which I rarely do these days, but today I do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. It's always such exciting session with you, because you just, I think one of the most striking things about you is that you just say it as it is. And I think we all really need to hear it like that, without things being sugar coated too much. And your frankness and ability to just really strike home with your words is something that is very treasured, and which is why I keep calling you back again and again to talk to all of us and share your wisdom with all of us. So thank you so much for this wonderful session. Your time is extremely precious. Please don't believe him that he doesn't talk these days. He's so booked, and it's very hard to get him, to talk to me. He's on like these international conferences and national level conferences on Ayurveda all the time. So it's just really grace that he, comes and talks to me just like out of some goodwill and gesture towards me. So thank you so much. And thank you all of you for having been here. So many of your names I have missed out. I'm very happy to see Dr. Yoga Chemal, Dr. Meena Ramanathan here. This is the first time I'm seeing here on one of these talks. So really honored to have all of you here. My friend Sangeeta from Coimbatore. So many of you, Mr. Balaji Rajshekaran. My cousin Mini, who asked a question from Singapore, my students Gobi Priya, so many of you here. Thank you so much. It is all your support that makes these conversations go on. And namaste and good night.
Namaste.